Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Apex Online Racing Social Race, the first race of the PS4 era for the new F1 2018, which was released today officially. And I am joined here tonight by Soup Cooler. Welcome to the commentary box, my friend.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here. Spa-Francorchamps is a brand new F1 2018 game. And we're finally going to get to see some more AOR action in some brand new cars, some brand new safety devices, and a lot of very experienced drivers here on the grid today. And of course, we're going around Spa-Francorchamps, a legendary circuit. I cannot wait to see how the guys get on today.
Yes, it was 20 years ago, of course, where Formula 1 had one of its most infamous Lap 1 incidents at this particular circuit. We're hoping we won't get anything like that tonight. So, Soup, it's a new game, of course. Can the drivers take anything from the previous game in terms of the lessons they've learned, or is it chucking everything out of the window and starting afresh?
Well, these cars, they're still relatively similar to the 2017 cars, but these cars have ramped up the downforce once again, and of course they've got the halo device fitted to the car now, the head protection device, so they've got to get used to that in the peripheral vision as well. If they're running in the T-pod cam especially, it is a little bit visually impairing, but they've got to get used to that as well. The increased levels of downforce because the brand new compound tyres that will be available. Of course, you've got the super hards, and you've got the hyper soft, which will be available at certain tracks around the calendar. So yeah, you can carry forward something, of course, but again, there's a new handling model on this game as well. They've updated it once again. It's brilliant. So they've got to just get used to how the game feels, and it's only been out a day, so we'll see how they get on tonight.
Yes, pretty much all of these drivers I've seen have been already putting in quite a few hours into the game, looking to get any advantage they can for the start of the new AOR seasons that are imminent next month, I believe. So, Soup, your experience of this particular track, is it one of your favourites, or is it one that you dread every time it comes around?
No, absolutely. I love Spa. It's just such an iconic circuit, the iconic Eau Rouge Radeon section, and just the elevation change. You don't get a sense of it from the TV cameras, but when you're driving around on the circuit, Radeon is such a huge climb up a massive hill, and the Kemmel Straight as well goes all the way up. It's a long drag up the hill there, and it's a wonderful natural amphitheater around here. I was supposed to be at it last year, but I didn't get out to it due to illness, so definitely one on the bucket list for me to come out here.
Yeah, I'm totally the same with you on that. I'd love to come out to this track one day. So, in terms of the pole time, you mentioned that even more downforce on these cars. So, we could see some lightning quick times right out of the gate, and that's with only less than a day's practice. Imagine what sort of times we're going to get at the beginning of the season. Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to see some rapid lap out. There's been a car. Oh dear. So a huge crash at the top of Radeon. There's just seen a Red Bull spear into the wall at the top of the hill. That's Deca, I think, just had a massive off up there. Okay, well, that's our first victim.
Yeah, for some reason I can't select him from the menu, so we'll see if we can catch him. Yeah, there he is on the right side at the top of Radeon. He has binned it. Well, first time in anger for some of these drivers going on to the new Eau Rouge and Radeon, so maybe slightly overestimating the amount of grip available. Also, incidentally, Deca was the only person on the soft tyres, so maybe he should have done his exploratory lap on a super soft set instead, because that less grip has proven a bit costly. But of course, it is only a social race, so no points to be lost here today, as Ollie D sets the early pace of 1:42.203. So, for the commentary, it's also a new experience. We're looking at, the spectators, seeing it's all, unfortunately, it seems to be a few audio bugs on some of the drivers, but I'm sure such issues will be patched out. Just a note, Soup, some people are saying you're kind of quiet, so maybe you want to just...
I have ramped up the volume. I have turned it up a little bit there, so it should be okay. Just let me know if it is still a bit quiet.
Yes, will do. Now, one of the more useful elements of the new spectator mode is that we now see how many laps that the drivers have been on tyres. Of course, not so useful in qualifying, because they'll tend to only do 1 or 2 laps at most, but during the race should be useful, Soup, for us to see the strategies unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, We didn't have it in the last game, and now we'll just be able to just get a rough idea of who hasn't stopped, who's due to make a stop, how near the tyres are to puncturing, especially if they're coming in very, very fine. So it's going to add like just an extra element for us up here in the commentary box. So it's a really, really useful feature. So kudos to Cody for putting that in for us.
Yes, I did a video over on my channel overviewing the spectator mode. I would have liked to have seen like a warning counter, because that would you know, give us a quick glance of, you know, who's about to pick up a penalty, that sort of thing. I mean, it's not a big issue, but it would have been, you know, any extra information is always useful for us. Now, only 9 drivers have set a time so far. Belgium Soup typically not really a track where you'd you know, get corner cutting penalties, is it?
No, because there's not really a lot of tarmac runoff around here. There's quite a lot of gravel traps, etc. So it's actually kind of difficult to cut a corner around here. But that's just the nature of the circuit, I suppose. And got a few drivers setting their lap times now. Most of the top 10 have set their lap times. And of course, short qualifying a little bit longer now this time.
Yes, back to the 18-minute length it was in F1 2016, which for me is a welcome return, because I think it just gives a more natural flow to qualifying. It's not everyone charging out at the same time, so also will give the drivers a bit more room to breathe, and that's got to be a good thing for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in F1 2017 they were just coming a little bit fine with the time allocated for qualifying. There was like pretty much one timed run, come back in the pits, another timed run. At least for now they have an opportunity to do an extra 1 or 2 runs, so it's going to be very useful for them. So hopefully they make use of it to good effect.
Now another element of the new game, which I think we should talk about, is the addition of the ERS. Now they had the DRS last season and the fuel mixes, of course, but the ERS, that will add a massive dimension to the strategy element of the online races, won't it?
Yeah, definitely will. Of course, the ERS is the energy recovery system, and it's the battery within the F1 car there. It uses both. It recovers energy from the MGU-K and the MGU-H, which allows you to get a little extra boost of power. It also recovers under braking as well. So now the drivers in F1 2018 will have the ability to manage the amount of output the battery gives. So you've got 5 different settings, from low power management all the way up to hot lap, which gives you an extra, I think, another 200 horsepower on top of the V6 hybrid, on top of the V6 engine alone. So there's a lot of tactical stuff involved with it, and you've got to make sure that you've got the right amount of charge at the right time. So it's going to be a very, very interesting feature to see how the drivers get used to it.
Yeah, could not agree more with you. We just saw Mutica have a huge moment of poo on, but luckily he saved it so he can carry on his qualifying, but that's going to compromise his second flying run, so he'll have to come back to the pits for another set of tyres, I'd imagine. He's currently in 8th position. So just a rundown of the top 10. Moso going out for another outlap. We got Alex, Ollie, Michael in the top 3, Jake, Prenta, Tonisa, Gameboy, Musica, Silva and Frandy Thompson making up the top 10. Anyone outside the top 10 you think could maybe threaten the top positions?
I think definitely Curly in 13th place. I think he could definitely make an impact there. Any of the guys, I've seen De Thomas around in Project Cars 2 during the Indy 500, so I'm not quite sure of his pace on F1, but yeah, there's a few new guys in here that I actually don't think I've seen before, so they could make an impact on the top positions. But it's currently familiar faces up around the top 5. Car Alex, of course, F1, Ollie D, season 14 F1 champion. VGIA Michael was in season 15 F1 last season, of course. Jake LFC, Big Parenta, F3 champion, the tier I did last season. So there's a lot of pedigree in these drivers, and it's going to be interesting to see how they fight against each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned Curly, and we're on board with him at the moment, but he's struggling a little bit through Pouon. He also went slightly wide at the bottom of Ravage, so he's currently outside the top 10, but I'm not sure of running wide just at turn 9, which is just leading to the entry to Pouon. I'm not sure if that would invalidate it, because I know on previous F1 games, depending on the speed you were going, it might have done, but the time is still going, so I think he is on lap. We're going to carry on with him out the exit of Sector 2 and then up to Blanchimont, which is certainly one of the best sections of what is an incredible track. It just has so many iconic corners, although I do miss the old version of the bus stop chicane. The new one although it's more practical in terms of getting back to the pits, I do miss the challenge of the old one on some of the older games. I don't know, what's your opinion on that chicane?
Well, the old bus stop is definitely iconic. It was a whole lot quicker, but I guess this chicane can be really called a bus stop because it definitely brings you to a stop after Blanchimont. It's a very, very tight chicane, and it's crucial to get right and to get on the power on the way out because it's a very deceivingly tight exit. So you've got to be careful on the power on the way out, and we're now in the final 7 minutes of qualifying. So now we're going to see some really rapid lap times get put in by the drivers here.
Yes, I think we're going to have a focus on the top three, see what they're up to. So at the moment we've got Alex, Ollie and Michael in the top three. So Michael's at the end of sector 2, whereas Ollie's back in the pits, so obviously invalidated his run. And Alex is at Pouon. So let's focus on Michael, who's heading towards Blanchimont to see if he can close the gap. He's just over 0.2 of a second to Alex at the time being.
Yeah. Just, I seem to have a glitch. I can't actually see which driver I'm on, which is kind of a little bit annoying. Let's see if I can get to follow anybody here.
Well, Michael heads for the line. What's this going to be? And it's provisional pole for Michael, a 1:41.802. So that, and Tunisia also goes up above Alex and Ollie. So it's a new front row for the time being. We've still got 6 minutes of the session to go. Plenty of time for the likes of Alex and Ollie to respond. Still a fair few number of drivers who haven't set a time.
Alex just popped into provisional pole there, 1:41.6. So now the times are tumbling.
Take that, says Alex. He says his pole temporarily taken away from him, but he responded in the best possible fashion with a storming 1:41.680. I do believe the times of setting are already significantly faster than what we saw in AOR in the F1 2017 era, which isn't a surprise given that these cars are absolutely mighty in the aerodynamics department.
Yeah, we've got a million different bits of aero across the front wings. They're incredibly complex cars. But of course in 2019 we're going to see them get a little bit less complicated. You've got wider front wings, less furniture as I like to call it on the front wings, and a wider rear wing just to help the cars follow each other a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem in this game, but we'll see how the drivers adapt to that in the race.
Absolutely. So we'll just briefly talk tyres, because they now have not only tyre temperatures but also the carcass temperature. So do you think we'll see, you know, more realistic tyre management required? Because, you know, in previous F1 games you could pretty much just, you know, push the same sort of pace every lap, and then when your tyres went off you just had to slow down a little. You didn't really have to manage them as such.
Yeah, definitely now with the carcass temperature, you've got to watch how much pressure, how much you're leaning on the tyres, because of course leaning on them creates more friction and of course creates more temperature. So if you overheat those tyres, it's going to create issues. You're going to wear them faster. So there's going to be a whole new dimension of managing the tyres in this new game, which is going to be a really interesting factor to add to the ERS management as well.
Absolutely. Well, one thing I do like about the new Spectator HUD, it's very easy now to identify which car the drivers are in. So, you know, red for Ferrari and blue for Toro Rosso, for example. So that's a nice little touch they've done. So, personally, in terms of playing the game so far, Soup, I'm not sure how much you've played it so far, but what are your sort of initial impressions of it?
Well, my game has currently crashed. I'll be back in a moment.
Impressions not very good then.
Yeah, well, the game's just crashed on my end, but I have another invite anyway, so I'll be back. But anyways, I did play some.
Oh, mine's crashed as well.